everyone, and welcome back to Life with Technologies YouTube channel. I hope you're doing well, and thank you so much for watching this episode. So this is another episode of our Juniper Lab Simulation series. Remember, in this series, we demonstrate to you how to configure and troubleshoot different networking protocols or different networking technologies on Juniper routing and switching devices. So we are helping you to understand how to use the CLI and implement different protocols like OSPF, BGP, ISIS, MPLS, and many other technologies on Juniper routing and switching devices. So if you have Juniper devices in your network and maybe you're having challenges implementing some protocols, kindly check out our previous sessions on this series. And again, just a kind request that if you are watching this session and you are yet to subscribe to our channel, kindly support us by subscribing to this channel. Also remember to like, comment, and share this video with your connections. So in our last episode, we started discussing about route distribution between protocols on Juniper MX routers. So again, we mentioned that on our service provider networks, we normally have multiple protocols. We can have eBGP, we can have iBGP, we can have OSPF, we can have ISIS, we have direct routing, we have static routing. All these are implemented on the network. And you need to perform some route import or route export between these protocols to ensure that all nodes can communicate with each other without any reachability problem. So as a network engineer, again, you need to understand how to perform these on different vendors: Juniper, Nokia, Huawei, Cisco. You should be able to perform the route distribution between protocols to ensure that there is reachability or there is communication in your network. So in the last episode, we focused on how to import the direct routes. And again, remember that whenever you are doing the route import, you need to use route policies, you need to configure prefix list or the route filters to ensure that you are not importing all the direct routes into eBGP or any other protocol. Even when you are importing OSPF routes into BGP or ISIS into BGP or even BGP into ISIS or OSPF, you still need to use route policy and route filters to ensure that you are only importing those specific routes that you want to be advertised to other protocols. So we already demonstrated how to import the direct route. So you have the direct routing implemented here, and then you need to import these routes into BGP. So you'll be configuring your policies on R7 because we already have the routes on R7, and you want that route to be advertised towards the other network, R2, R1, and R5, R4. So you can ensure that by importing the direct routes into BGP. So if you check on R7, if I show configuration, display set, you will see that we configured, let me just expand the screen. You will see that we configured a policy and we call it direct to BGP. So this is term 1, and we stated that it's from protocol direct, and then set policy options. From the route filter, we specified the exact route that we want to be imported from direct to BGP. And then you can see that we accept that prefix. So this prefix will be propagated towards other neighbors. So if you check from the topology, this prefix is imported into eBGP, and once it's imported into eBGP, it will be advertised to R2. So when you check R2, you expect that this route should be active. So on R2, if I show route, you can see that we have this prefix. It has been advertised towards R2 through BGP. So we've managed to import direct routes into BGP. So we need to do the same on R7 so that we are able to import the static routes to BGP. And then that static route should be advertised towards R2. So from R7, we need to configure, first we need to configure static routing towards the loopback of R3. Remember, there is a session that we did static routing, so you can revisit that session. But first, let's configure the static route towards R3. So on R7, actually we have it in place. You can see that we have a static route towards 3.3.3.3, we've configured the next hop to 50.50.50.1. So from this one, if I ping 50.50.50.1, you can see that it's reachable, but this route is not in BGP. If I show route protocol BGP, you see that we don't have that route in BGP, and that route is not advertised towards R2. So we need to perform some configuration so that that route will be advertised towards R2. So same, we need to configure a policy. So I will set policy options, policy statement, static to BGP. And then you specify the term. So this will be term 1. From protocol, this will be static. Remember, that route is learned through static. So you need to specify the word static or the protocol static. And then we can use the route filter. Term 1 from, again, we specify the route filter. The route filter should be 50.50.50.1. That should be .0, and it should be, I think it should be 3.3.3. The correct one should be the loopback of R3, which is 3.3. Mask is 32. This one should be exact. And then you can then accept. You can always create term 2. Then reject. So if I do show pipe compare, you should be able to see that we are configuring a policy static to BGP term 1 from protocol static, and then route filter 3.3.3.3/32. It's an exact route that we want. Only this prefix should be imported to BGP, and then the action is accept. And then we are configuring another term to reject everything. So it's always good practice to have this term that will be rejecting everything else. So once we have the policy in place, we can configure, or we can add it to BGP for the import, for the export. So we'll use the same command, set protocols BGP group. This is eBGP. So with group eBGP, and then we can export static to BGP. So you do show pipe compare. You can see that now we have another policy that has been added in the export. So you can do commit check as usual to ensure that you have the correct syntax. And once you complete the commit check, if there are any errors, of course, you need to fix the errors, and then you can commit and quit so that the configurations can be activated on the router. So once we've committed, we now need to log into R2 and check whether this route has been advertised to R2 from R7. So R7 will import that route to BGP, and then once it has been imported to BGP, it will advertise it to R2 through eBGP. And then that route R2 should also advertise the route to R1 via iBGP peering session. So when we check the configuration has been committed, we can show route advertising protocol BGP. Then you can check the neighbor. This will be 20.20.20.0. You can see that this prefix has been advertised to. We check the static again and see whether it has taken effect. Not yet, because you can see this one, it's just advertising one prefix. So from R7, are we able to ping 3.3? Find that it's reachable. Then if I show configuration, display set, so we have a policy. It's from protocol static, and then we've specified the route filter 3.3.3.3, accept, and then under BGP we have static to BGP. So on R2, let's check on R2. If I do show route, you see that we are not getting the route. If I do hidden, still we are not getting the route. We don't have any hidden routes. On R7, again, show route 3.3.3.3. we have /32 and it's via static. So why is it not being advertised to? Let me remove this policy. I'll delete the first policy. Let's quit. If I do show route advertising protocol BGP, so we are now advertising. So it means the prefix, this one was rejecting the other routes. So once it will just advertise the direct, and then it will not advertise the others. So you can see that now we are getting the prefix 3.3.3. If we go on R3 and show route, you can see that we are able to get 3.3.3 and it's coming via BGP. If I ping 3.3.3, of course it will not be reachable because the other side doesn't have a route. We can add a default route for it to access the external network, but as of now it doesn't have a route to any other network. I mean, from R3 we don't have a route towards R2, so it will not be reachable. But if you want communication, like you want reachability, you can have a static route pointing to R7, and then that should be reachable. On R1 we also expect to have the route hidden. So on R1, if I do show route, you see that we don't have 3.3.3. If you do show route hidden, you'll see that we have this route hidden and it's unusable. So again, this route has been hidden on R1. It has not been installed in the routing table, and you can see that it's unusable on R1. So we need to do something on R2 to be able to make this route to be active. Again, you can tell us in the comment section what we need to do to be able to make this route active on R1, because it has been advertised to R1, yes, but it's unusable, it's hidden on R1. So kindly tell us in the comment section what we need to do to make this route active so that it's advertised to R1, and then on R1 we should be able to import this route to ISIS, also to OSPF, so that it can be reachable from all these other routers. So this is it, guys. This is how you import the direct routes. Again, one of the things that you can do when you are configuring on R7, you can actually have just one policy, and this policy can have different terms. What I mean by having different terms is, for example, you saw that when we did both direct to BGP and static to BGP, then we are not getting the static advertised to BGP. So what we can do is we can have just one policy statement, and this one policy statement can have different terms. Just from the direct, if we want to have the direct route advertised, we can come down here. If I do configure, and then I set policy options, policy statements, static to BGP, and then I set term 2 from protocol BGP, from protocol BGP, then I specify from route filter. This is 60.60.60.0. This was 31 exact, and then go to term 2, then accept. If I do show pipe compare, you can see that we have term 2 configured. Again, back to the configurations, you'll see that here we've configured term 2. So what I can do is I can delete this statement. But of course, sometimes if you have configured a different term number, you can always delete. So I can delete this. And then show pipe compare. Let me first commit. And then I will copy this statement. So if I do run show configuration, display set, you will find that we don't have term 2 here. Now I can set my term 2. I can set my term 2. So set protocols, set policy options, policy statement, static. You set term 2 from protocol. This is from protocol direct. From route filter. And this one should be 60.60.60.0. Mask is that one exact. And then I do then accept and commit. I will also configure term 3 and then reject term 3, or you can have term 10 just so that it will allow you to have them numbered correctly. So if I commit and go back to R2 and show route, you see that we now have 60.60.60. It has been advertised 24 milliseconds ago, and then you can see that 3.3.3 also was advertised. So we are now getting both. So many times it's always good to have one policy statement, and then you can have multiple terms. So if I do show run show configuration, display set, you will see that we have a policy. So you can give it a generic name, not just static or direct, but then you can have different terms. Term 1 for protocol static, term 2 for protocol direct. You can have term 3 for any other protocol that you want to configure out, import or export between different protocols. So this is something that you need to also practice, having chained or multiple terms within one policy, one routing policy. So this is it, guys. You can see that on R2 we have the routes. We are able to get the static route, and now it's through BGP. We've been able to import it and advertise it via BGP to the neighbors. And again, remember that this route is still not available on R1. And in the comment sections, you can tell us how we can fix the issue to ensure that this route is active on R1 once it's advertised from R2 to R1. So this is it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the session. I hope you will be able to do the practice and do the lab simulation in your environment so that you can master how to do route import between different protocols. So in the next session, we focus on how to import OSPF routes to BGP. So we'll be doing it on R1 and ensure that the routes are propagated to BGP. And then in subsequent sessions, we can look at ISIS, and we also have BGP to OSPF. So we also need to do bidirectional route import. The same way you are importing BGP to OSPF, you also need to import OSPF to BGP. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this session. Again, just a kind request that remember to subscribe to our channel, to comment and to like this video, also to share with your connections, and see you in the next session. Bye.